like that it asks me if I want to be recorded.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't think it used to do that.
Oh, it's new. Because the first time I heard it, I was like, who's that woman?
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Jaxon Talks, everybody. With me, your host, Jaxon Stone. This is episode number 77, but it is actually the first episode that we are dropping in 2022. Wow, wild. 2022. And I'm here with a returning guest. He was actually on episode number 12, which we recorded in July 18 of 2020. So it's been a while since we had this person on Jaxon Talks, everybody, but he's someone I talk to regularly. I'm sure I'll confess my love for him throughout the episode, and I'll give you a little context behind that. But welcome to the show, Big Utes, Wheeler Yuta.
Hey, thanks for having me, buddy.
You are welcome. You're welcome. I got one question for you. I'll ask in a second.
Yep.
Actually, really thank you for coming on now that you're like a big star. But anyways.
Oh, shut up. That's great.
But I'll ask you one question, then we'll kind of go into some other stuff. But I want to say this, like, for context of how close our relationship is for people viewing. Probably got some AEW people listening to this episode because they're fans of you now. But for context about me and Yute's relationship, we lived together for 1 year. And since that year, we've basically become super close best friend type stuff. And if I were going to get married, let's say tomorrow, for instance, I would invite Yuta to stand up there with me with a few of my other really close friends. So that's kind of what our friendship means and our relationship is. You should listen to episode 12 because that has some more backstory about us. We actually recorded a few episodes a long time ago, but we had to remove those for some certain situations and things of that nature. But we've actually recorded a bunch of Jaxon Talks, everybody's, and I'm happy to have him on again. And now I'll stop talking. Actually, I won't stop talking. I will continue talking, but I have.
I mean, it is a podcast, so yeah. I hope you do continue talking.
Yeah, I'll let you talk in a second, but I'll have the lead in here to my very first question, which if you're a regular listener, you know the question. If you're new to the show, thanks for tuning in. This question is super important, especially between two guys, two males. I think it creates more conversation, more honest conversation to express how we feel or what may be going on. And it creates deeper connection, which is kind of the most vital thing that human beings need is deep, meaningful connection. So, Big Utes, how are you doing? Like for real, like what's going on? How are you?
I love that you said before we started recording, I only have one question. And your one question is, how are you?
Yeah, that's it. I want it. That's it. It's going to lead us down a beautiful conversation. Yeah.
No, it will. Yeah, I'm doing good, man. You know, moved in with Tank recently. Tank is how I have my girlfriend's number saved to my phone. She said hi, by the way. I forgot to tell you that before we started.
She's great. She's great.
Yeah, moved in. Yeah, right. She's the best. But yeah, moved in together. We're living in Virginia now, and obviously got this thing going with AEW, which has been great. So I'm doing good, man. I can't complain. I've got a lot of good things going on, and I'm just happy right now in my life. That's for sure.
Beautiful to hear. Yeah. Because last time we talked, and for most of our relationship, you were living in Philadelphia.
Yes.
How does it feel to be away from your most favorite city in the whole wide world?
Oh, I miss it so much. I really like where we're at now, or where we're at now, though. Like, it's a great situation. It's a great place that we're in. Beautiful apartment. We have a lot more space. It's a lot less crowded, a lot less loud, but I miss Philly a lot. It's a place I've called home for a long time. But yeah, I mean, I'm still just getting adjusted, and I think I'll love Fairfax just as much. But I definitely miss Philly, that's for sure. I drove through it yesterday coming home from a Beyond Wrestling show. I was just like looking at it. It's like, oh, if you ever see like the skyline, the one building with like the big steeple in Philly, Liberty Place, I used to work like next to it. So they have a food court in the second floor. So I would just go eat Subway there every day. But I would, like every time I pass, I'm just like, oh, I miss it. But it's like one of the most iconic buildings. You look at like the skyline of Philly, so I see it all the time. But miss Philly, man.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I thought about asking this question, but I didn't like write it down in my list of questions. The only one I asked was, how are you? I actually write that down, even though I ask it every single episode. I don't know why.
You write it down? You write it down?
Yeah, I just like to make sure that I hit it, even though I know exactly.
Is there just a piece of paper that just says Yuta and then right under it, how are you? Like, is that the...
I mean, yeah, sort of. It's like, says your name. It says the date of today, so I can post that in the show notes, like when we recorded, because I usually post these like 4 weeks after they get recorded. And then I have episode number 77. And then, yes, it just says, how are you? So, yeah, I just like to make sure. I like to make sure I hit that point, even though it's like the basis of my whole podcast.
It's kind of what the show's about. Yeah.
But anyways, another thought that came into my mind about I wanted to ask you this. I didn't even write it down. Was about Bryce Harper, right? Big baseball fans here.
Yep.
I told you when he got signed to the Phillies, that for his long contract to be kind of, I don't want to say worthy because he's an amazing ball player. He's worthy of those kinds of numbers and that kind of contract. But to make like the less obsessed fan or the less knowledgeable fan know that like it was worth the contract, was he won 2 MVP awards through his contract and 1 World Series title. So he wins his second MVP of his career, but first with the Phillies. Like, what are you feeling? What are you feeling about the team? And I mean, Zach Wheeler, close, almost won Cy Young, but man, what a year for those boys.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's just gotta like, it feels like the big pieces are there. You just got to fill in around it. I mean, the Phillies bullpen has been the problem since 2009. Like 2008, Lidge had the perfect season, and then like 2009, not every save, but he had a rough year.
Right.
And then he got replaced in 2010 by Ryan Madsen, and then he had a rough year. And then just since then, it's just been problem after problem after problem. Papelbon didn't pan out the way we hoped. Like, it's just, that's always been the issue. So I'm always worried about the figuring out the pitching situation. But what a year for Harper. What a year for Wheeler. Like, I'm optimistic about the team for the first time in a long time, I will say. But it's just putting the pieces together.
Right. Yeah. I mean, baseball, you look at, even like to your point, right? You look at the Angels, they have the 2 best players in the American League on their team, and they weren't even close to sniffing the playoffs.
Exactly.
Like,
that's the thing about baseball. Is like, no matter how good like Trout is, he can only hit once every 9 times, right? And then like, so obviously that's his strength. But like, and if you're a pitcher, like there's no equivalent of like a quarterback, like the quarterback that touches the ball every play, or like a point guard, or like, it doesn't even have to be a point guard, but like in the NBA, you can get the ball to the same guy if you really need to. Like
every
a person.
Single,
like if someone gets hot, they can take over for a quarter. They can take over for a few games, like something like that can happen. That can't happen in baseball. Like Zach Wheeler can only pitch once every 5 days. That's how it's going to be. And like, so to me, it's always like the ultimate team sport because you really need all the pieces, or else you can't do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly right. Like in the most pressure filled situations in all those other sports, I can basically guarantee that my best player will get the ball.
Yes.
Like with 8 seconds left, I'm down 2 points. I can guarantee that LeBron gets the ball for the most part. Like 98% probably he can get the ball. If I need to score a touchdown with 1 minute left, my quarterback's getting the ball. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, they have the ball. But if I'm in the 9th inning, I'm down 2 runs and a guy's on second base, my 7-hole hitter could come up. I can't control that Bryce Harper's coming to the dish. Yeah. So you have to have a full lineup, you have to have a full lineup. And I mean, they're all major leaguers. They're all technically the best players in the world. But, obviously some guys are better than others. Some guys handle pressure situations a little bit differently than others. Bryce Harper's a phenom. So is like Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and all these guys. But that's why I love baseball, because you never know, especially in a playoff run or like late season, September, who's going to be the hero. Yeah. It's so cool. Who's going to be the hero? Who's going to just go like David Freese style in like the 2011 playoffs? you just like never got out, and that got him paid for like 7 years after, and he never had a good season
and he never played good again. Yeah.
But people are always hoping like, oh shit, we might get David Freese back. You know, he got paid millions of dollars off that. Like, that's amazing. That's exactly how it should be.
It's awesome. Yeah. Gosh, it's so funny though. Like, you could, as much as you want Bryce Harper to be up, if Freddie Galvis is up, no offense, Freddie Galvis, he's great, but it's, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that about baseball.
Yeah.
It's great.
And it's also interesting to teach that to young people, because I work with a lot of young athletes, and it's like how to relate to someone, like, because baseball is the ultimate team sport, but it's also super individualistic. Like,
yes,
when I'm hitting, there's nobody else there. It's just me and the pitcher. It is a solo.
Exactly.
It is a solo battle against you and that pitcher. He's trying to get your ass out. I'm trying to get the hit or get a walk or get on base or move the runner over, whatever the case may be. But that is right. That's one-on-one right there. There's no other harder challenge in sports than hitting a baseball off a pitcher throwing 97 when his ball moves like this, or he might drop in a changeup that's like 82. Right. So it's like really hard to teach young kids, like, you're part of a team culture where you have to pick each other up. You have to link arms. You have to support each other. You have to be there for one another. But also, you kind of have to only be in your zone when you're hitting, unless it's a team at bat and you're trying to bunt or get someone over. That's like a different situation. But so that's like hard to relay to like a young person. But I also think it's super similar in terms of professional wrestling, to relate it back to professional wrestling. Because wrestling in itself is a team sport. Like, if I'm not working well with the guy in the ring with me, the match is going to suck and we might get hurt, which is like the farthest, most worst end of that stick. But it's also individualistic, because I have to be prepared in my own right. I have to know what moves my character presents, or all these things. No question here really, but just you can feed off of that.
No. Yeah. And then like, even more so, like, in that it's the same in that, like, everyone, you want to put on the best show possible, right? So like, everyone in the back wants it all to be good too, like the producer wants to be good, the booker wants to be good, like everyone wants it to be good, but it's just you in there. And like, maybe it's a team effort all day and everyone's like rooting for you in the back, but like at that moment, it's just you two. It's just, or you two, you four, however many are out there. Like that's all that it is. So yeah, it's very similar. It draws a pretty similar comparison. So yeah, I never thought about it like that. That's so true.
Yeah, I thought about it so often, only because of this reason. Because when I stopped playing baseball, the thing that like bothered me the most about it, that not playing baseball anymore, wasn't really the baseball part, because I was kind of over that. But I talk about it in a lot of different other podcasts if you want to listen to them. But anyways, what really was like frightening for me, or really scary, was that I wasn't going to be around a team of guys that loved the same thing I loved, because that camaraderie, that community is incredible. And so when I got into wrestling without knowing the business or anything about it really, because all I'd watched at that point was like WWE, I didn't know indie wrestling or traveling or all of these things that come with it that are so cool. I was like, oh, this is like, what am I going to do? It's like an individualistic thing. I just walk out there, I'm by myself. There's no team. Like, I'm going to miss that part of baseball. And then you get into it and you're like, no, this is a team. This is a family. Like, especially when you're driving 12 hours with someone, and it's like, or you're living with someone for a year after knowing them for like a minute and a half. It becomes a family atmosphere. And then wrestling itself is super niche, even though there's like a quote unquote boom going on, that if you find someone who really does love pro wrestling the same way you do, there's an instant bond. And so that changed my perspective a lot, like going into it thinking that there was no family atmosphere, community atmosphere, and then totally now coming out the other side of it, like loving and believing in the pro wrestling community and wanting to help it as much as I can. So that was like where I thought about this idea so much, like relating it from baseball now to wrestling.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, I guess, because I went straight from like my team sports like directly into wrestling. Like I kind of knew already, but I was more aware, I think, of the indies obviously than you were. But so I kind of was like hoping that I would get that like camaraderie thing. Like I always thought that was going to be a big part of it, but I don't know why. I just was always like, I heard people say the boys so many times. I was like, oh yeah, we're all going to hang out and be cool and it'll be fun. But
well, yeah,
I don't know. I had a very different perspective for some reason.
I think it's because that original point you said is that you kind of knew indie wrestling a bit more than I did. Like I just thought that I was going to go get trained at MPX Wrestling and then I was going to go to WWE. That was it. That's literally what I thought.
Yeah. No, I had like I think I told you this. I had a binder when I was a kid that had like all my wrestling drawings and crap in it. And like the front, I taped on something I printed out on computer paper. It was like a path of like my path to success. So it was like C4W, which is the local indie in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
Then under that was I knew that the NWA existed because they had like some indies around. So I was like, all right, so then I'll go there. And then the big one, I'll go to WWE. So I had like, that was my 3-step plan that I had like written off because this was like like the current iteration of the NWA. It was just like the affiliate program. And I was watching like the Marquez NWA Hollywood stuff a lot. So like, cause that was what I could find on the internet for some reason on the other side of the country. But it was like, that was like my 3-step plan. And then Colt Cabana was on one of the shows he's on all the Marquez stuff. But then I found his podcast, listened to it, discovered what indie wrestling was like outside of that. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is what it is. It's like, oh yeah, it's traveling and all that stuff. Wow. But yeah, I had the exact same thing. I had the 3-step plan. It was just in the middle there. Colt Cabana was sitting there doing independent shows. And I was like, that's it.
Yeah. He changed the game straight up, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Your steps had much more than mine. Like I missed those middle parts.
just MPX and WWE.
Get trained, learn to bump, go to WrestleMania.
No, mine was get trained, championship wrestling from Hollywood, WrestleMania. So it was just one step.
Not bad. One
plan. Additional trip to the West Coast.
And now, all these years later, you're not living a totally different life, but you're working for a totally different company. And wrestling at WrestleMania is not even something I want to do ever. So wild. That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Right.
Speaking of Colt Cabana, you like now work with him.
Yeah. It's wild.
You're like on the same roster as him wrestling on TNT. Like, what's that like?
Yeah.
Because I know you look up to him a lot. He's like, I mean, he should be an inspiration for many, if not all, independent performers, not just independent wrestlers. But what's that like?
Yeah, it was always so great to pick like his brain on the indies, but now to be able to do it like weekly, it's great because it would just be like whenever I ran into him every like 6 months, and now it's just like, oh, now we can just talk all the time. It's great. So it's like super cool to have one of these people that you really looked up to, really kind of helping you out. And there's a lot of people like that at AEW. Like AEW itself, just in general, is insane. Like imagine even like 5 years ago, like just thinking like someone being like, hey, so this is going to exist. This is going to exist. And it's going to be on TNT. And then it's going to go to TBS. It's going to be super successful. It's going to be the hottest. Like you'd be like, yeah, okay. Like it's a story that we've heard in wrestling a million times of just like someone saying that they're going to do this. And then it obviously doesn't pan out and it's a scam every time, or it's like a terrible show or something. But like the fact that it's a real thing, it's like, oh my God, I'm like so fortunate to be there, you know, that there's another place for us all to go wrestle. And it's so much fun. Like it's so relaxed, it's so great. So yeah, just in general, like, I don't know, life's wild right now.
Yeah, I remember watching you wrestle for the first time on TNT and like sitting in my living room, just like crying my eyes out.
No.
Because when we were living together, like we didn't live in a nice place. We were both in the trenches, like deep in the trenches. You were going through some shit. I went through the worst experience of my whole entire life. And we were both just like there for each other, like immensely there for each other. And then there was wrestling that we would just like, we're trying to do. And like you were getting some sweet bookings. Like you went to Germany, like the first time, like when we moved out, and like I was getting like decent bookings. And it was like like, where do you want to be with your career? And you were always, you know, you just wanted to be a really good wrestler and you wanted people to recognize you for that. And then I saw you wrestle on TNT in front of, I don't know how many people were there, but on like a national fucking broadcast where millions of people watch it weekly. And I was like, it's like dreams, like it might sound super cliche, but like dreams do come true. Like they really do. Like I believe in that. I believe in hope and love and all of these things. If you listen to my podcast, you know, I talk about it almost ad nauseum because I believe it so much. But it's so special, dude. Like I don't know how to convey that to you. I mean, I told it to you when we saw each other in person like a month ago when my tire blew out. But and we spent like 4 hours waiting for AAA, but that was like a nice 4 hours. We just got to hang out together.
Yeah, it was a good time.
But I was like with my roommate and my other buddy was here too randomly, and they were like, "Dude, why are you crying?" I'm like, because it's like this is like real shit. It's like real hard work, like, and it's like battling stuff to get to like where you want to be, and like wasn't even a possibility when we were like drinking wine on our couch till 3 a.m. Now it is a possibility, and it's there, and it happened for you. And I don't know what it's going to happen when I have you on my podcast a year from now, but right now I know that I'm really, really happy for you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, like that means a lot. Like, yeah, we're just grinding. We're just trying to do it and see what would happen. And like, I always just was like, you know, whatever comes up, I just want to be the best that I can be. And then this thing that I am so grateful to be a part of came around, and it was like, here we are, man. Like, I don't know if I think that we probably would have cried in that apartment too if you had told us years ago how it would have all turned out. You know, that wasn't that long ago either, but like,
no, I mean, it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, not long at all. But like, yeah, I think it's crazy. Like I wouldn't have expected to be here right now. So
I mean, we did cry in that apartment quite a bit. So we did cry.
We did cry in that apartment quite a bit. That's true. But
that's all. That's part of the journey.
Happy.
That's some happy tears, some sad tears, but that's part of the journey, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a mental health conference over the weekend, and a neuroscientist was talking about how important crying and laughing are, and how important they are to like our neurobiology and like a release mechanism to get emotions out, whether good or happy tears. And so, yeah, we cried a lot. It's a way to get out your emotions, right? If you're suppressing everything down, eventually they're going to come out in a more aggressive and hostile manner. So if you feel like crying, let it fly, baby. Let it fly. It's good for you. But on top of that, more talking about you, I guess, because this is a podcast about you. But you were at one point like working with like every company that could possibly happen, except for like the other one. But like you were wrestling for like Ring of Honor. You were wrestling for New Japan, and still am, and for AEW at the same time, and doing indies.
Yeah.
Like, so, speak on that, but then I have a question about it.
No, I'm just like, even that, like, can you imagine that? Like, just, all right, so you're gonna be able to be on TV, but you're still gonna be able to do indies. You're still gonna be able to wrestle for like New Japan. Like, it's wild. Like, it's just, I don't know. I'm just baffled that this is life now, which I don't know. Maybe I'm too grateful on this podcast where I'm very like, I just keep going over and over like, this is nuts, but it's nuts.
It's not. You can't be too grateful. You can always be grateful, but also at the same time that you have appreciation and gratitude for what you do have, you have to be also understanding and knowing that you deserve to be that in that spot that you've been given because of your hard work and effort. So, right, it can be like it's a hard like fine tuning the balance, right? If we have too much appreciation and too much gratitude, it's like, do I really deserve to be here? That
imposter syndrome kind of thing, yeah.
But it's like, you do, right? Because, you know, you do. That's like, there doesn't need to be a deeper explanation than that. You do deserve to be there. But speaking on the same thing, a lot of times with like elite performers or high performing athletes or like high performing business people or whatever, you work like really hard to get to this certain threshold or certain level. And then when you get there, it's like not as fulfilling as you once thought it was. because maybe you were focused too much on the outcome. You weren't so much focused on the process of getting there. But if any of those kinds of feelings come up for you on this whole professional wrestling journey, kind of reaching the level that you're at or anything like that?
I mean, sometimes it's like not necessarily trying to think of the right words to say it. Like sometimes it's like, okay, now what? It's just like my goal. I was focused on this goal to get here for so long, like to try to reach this point where I can do these things. So it's like, all right, so now I'm here, but I need to make the most of it. I need to make the most of these opportunities to do these things. So I kind of need to, I guess now I'm trying to, in order to, like you said, enjoy it, feel gratitude, but also keep moving forward. I've tried to kind of enjoy the process itself more. Like I'm at the thing that I wanted. I want more. Like I obviously want to move up the card and do better and keep growing and keep becoming a better wrestler and the best wrestler I can be and best human being I can be. But I think it'd be foolish for me not to kind of enjoy the process. So that's what I'm trying to do now is enjoy the like know where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to not, I guess, get discouraged, or not even not just get discouraged, but to also not like just dwell on the one thing so much. I've been trying to focus on the process and just kind of take it in and be like, wow, this is cool. So that's a new thing. That's never been something I've done before. I think I've always kind of known what I wanted to like do and accomplish maybe, and then kind of laser focus on that and then look back at the good times. But it's like, just enjoy them while they're here. Why? I'm a very nostalgic person. So it's like, why be so nostalgic when you can just enjoy the thing that you've always wanted as it's happening right now in front of you? So that's kind of been my new focus, I would say, since all these big things have happened and changed,
Yeah. I tell that to my athletes all the time, but it's really hard to focus on the process when everything is based on results, right?
Yes.
Everything, your job, school, sports, wrestling, everything is based on, did you do what we asked you to do, or did you do a good job, or did you win, like the result, right?
Yeah.
Or the
because I can
outcome.
enjoy this process as much as I want, but if it sucks, like if I suck, I suck, that's it.
So it's really hard dynamic to understand and to switch in your mind when, like, if I just focus on being in the midst of the grind, and I don't really like the word grind, but it works fine. Okay. Here.
Fair.
But like being in the trenches or like doing the work that you love just because you love doing it, and then leading that into the direction that you want your life to end up being. But when you reach that peak or whatever your peak is, then you're still really loving what you're doing, and the result isn't as important. And it's not easier, that's the wrong word. Like it's different in pro wrestling, because your result is kind of, fixed or predetermined or however you want to use it. But how you get there is the actual result. Like, are people buying into what you're doing? Like,
yeah,
are the fans behind you?
That's what the result is. It's not the win and the loss always.
Right. But it leads to people believing more of the wins and losses if all that stuff is sharp and good and crisp and meaningful, whatever, all that. But I'm not really talking to you. I'm talking to the people listening. But anyways, and so that it's like a really hard dynamic to have everything based on results and outcome, but still stay focused on the process. And when you get to that point, everything becomes, I think, a little less overwhelming and a little less daunting, because you're like, I'm in the midst of this journey. I love doing this because I love doing it. And if it leads somewhere, great, awesome. But if I just end up wrestling it beyond wrestling in front of 150 people 3 times a week, I live my dream as a pro wrestler, and that's awesome too. And I'm enjoying the process as it comes. Really hard to grasp. But if you start kind of understanding those dynamics and those tools a little bit, I think it makes the journey upward, especially in pro wrestling, a little bit less challenging.
Yeah, because I mean, it's tough because at the end of the day, all it's about is just people, is being happy. So finding what it is that makes you happy may not necessarily align with, I don't know, success in a particular field, I would say. So I think sometimes people get so caught up in, this is the plan, this is what I need to do, this is how I define success in a particular field. But if you just define it as, being happy, and then you want to succeed in this field because it makes you happy, then doing the work is a lot easier, and doing the work is the fun part, So it's kind of like finding what that is, where those two things align, like success in something that makes you happy. So like trying to balance those two, like you said, is very difficult. But I think that at the end of the day, people need to realize, like, as long as you're happy, it doesn't matter what it is you're doing or how you're doing it. Like, obviously, with respect to other people and their happiness, but
Sure.
like, you need to, as long as you're happy, that's all you can ask for.
Right. Yeah. You said something really, really, profound that I don't know if you know that you said it, but like, you have to define what success means to you, because if you have no definition of what success means to you, you're never going to reach it because you don't know what it is. And so when you're starting out in an endeavor that's like really hard or challenging, which pretty much everything is in life, what is success? Like, if I reach this level, I'll consider this success. And that's also the portion of more focusing on the process rather than the outcome. But it is nice to have a North Star, right? Something that you're always aiming at, something that you always have responsibility for and can move towards, like, especially when things get tough. So defining that for yourself is wildly important. And it also helps with what we just talked about, right? Focusing on the process. So that's, yeah, very astute of you, Big Utes.
Oh, thank you. I recently read the book The Alchemist.
Oh, did you like it?
Fine. Yeah, it was really good. Did you read it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like finding your personal legend, and just talking about like if along the way you fail, or like they talk about it in terms of like death, like if you die along the way, at least you died in pursuit of what you love. It doesn't necessarily have to be like actual physical death, but like if you fail in pursuit of what you love, did you really fail?
Right.
Did you have a good time? Are you happy? Did you try hard? Like, did you, now like, okay, maybe this isn't it, like, or this was it, but I had a good time pursuing whatever it was. Like, that's all very important. So yeah, you can have that North Star, but also knowing, like, if you just let that one singular thing define you, it's all the eggs in one basket. So it's not the healthiest way to live, I'd say.
Right. Yeah. There's much more to you than just what you're aiming towards, right? You're a pro wrestler, but that doesn't necessarily define you, right? You're also a boyfriend, a son, a friend, a human, right? All these other things that you are that compile you. And then what you do for a living is be a pro wrestler. And so, yeah, whatever you're aiming at, it just allow it to bring you some fulfillment, some meaning, and some purpose. And then everything that comes along the way with it, the setbacks, the failures, the obstacles, the good, the bad, the peaks, the valleys, as our friend Tim Thatcher would say, it's all very important. It's all part of it. And so speaking
doesn't
on
mean
that,
it's all fun. But.
No, it's not. It's not all fun, and it shouldn't be all fun. Life is about feeling a wide range of things, because if we never feel anything that's not fun or bad or hard, then we're not going to enjoy the good as much. And the good always outweighs the bad, right? You can't paint a beautiful picture without dark colors. So I believe that to be true. My next question, also about AEW, that I just thought of right now because I didn't write anything down.
Okay.
But we talked about Colt Cabana a little bit and working with him and being able to like pick his brain on a more regular basis, which I think is amazing. But now on the AEW roster, you have like everyone's the best in the world at some point, right? And there's so many guys that claim that. But you have like 4 guys on your roster that actually might be the best in the world. CM Punk, Andrade, what's his name in AEW?
Andrade El Idolo.
Yeah, he's incredible. My favorite wrestler, besides The Miz of all time, Adam Cole, and Bryan Danielson. Now, what's it? I know you got to wrestle Adam Cole, but what's it like seeing those guys who are basically at the peak? They've been at the peak of every company they've been at, see those guys work? Like do they do anything different that you've picked up? Do they do anything that you might add to your game, or the way they put matches together, or the way they view things? Like any nuggets of wisdom that you're able to share without giving too much away, obviously.
There's a lot of them. To be honest, I probably shouldn't share them. But like just being able to kind of sit around those guys, and like one thing I will say that I've noticed, and I don't know if this is necessarily sorry. I don't know if this is necessarily something that they've like specifically told, but like there's always this kind of sense of calm around those guys. Like there's a confidence there of like, even if something goes wrong, like someone comes to the back, like, oh, I'm so sorry about this or this. They're all just like, it's fine. It's good. We did it. It was good. We pulled it off. This is what we needed to do. This is what we accomplished. Like, we got it done. Like, before the matches, they all know, like, it's going to go well. Like, I am who I am. I understand it's going to go well. And then, like, in the ring with those guys, like, they're so calm and just, like, controlled, focused. No, like, they, at all times, they know exactly what they're doing. So it's seeing that kind of, it feels like, yeah, you got to step your game up, because I don't know, it's like there's just this aura about some of those guys where it's like they're professionals. So I don't know where this is going. I'm kind of rambling at this point.
No, it's like, beautiful. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, like these guys are, when they walk in the room, you're like, okay, this is, they're here to do good work. They're gonna do good work, and they know that, and we all know that every time we see it. So it's insane to me.
That's so cool. Like I've never worked or been around any of those guys, but I had just assumed from knowing like a lot about high performance that they just, like, those kinds of guys always bring just a different energy into the room. And like the best athletes in the world, the best performers in the world always elevate everyone else around them. Always. That's like a key factor of being one of the best in the world at what you do. And so I just assumed, in now a wrestling context where basically you're like, you know, one-on-one working together, that if you're in the ring with them, they're only going to elevate you to their level. And that's so cool. Like, it's so cool. Like, and it's like, because confidence is like really fragile, especially with athletes. It's very fragile. You don't really know how you're going to feel when you step into the arena, the park, the yard, wherever your domain is. And so for those guys, you know, their confidence level is at a sky high because, you know, not only are their past successes showing them that, but they just have like an internal belief that no matter what shows up on the show, in the match, I've seen it before, I can handle it. And that's really cool, especially displaying that to young wrestlers like yourself, young wrestlers.
Yeah. I will say that there is every once in a while, I'll see like a little bit of nerves, and it reminds me like, okay, we're all human though. Like, because we can have those nerves, but then still be confident that it's going to be good. We'll be fine. So there's every once in a while I'll see and like, okay, there it is. There's what I feel, but they feel it a lot less just because, you know, they're the best in the world. So
yeah, I mean, all those guys still have a fire in their belly, right? And so they're going to feel some level of anxiety or nervousness. Everyone relates anxiety and nervousness to a negative connotation, when really anxiety and nervousness have a somewhat of a positive connotation in my context. Like, I want to have anxiety because it helps me perform better. Now, if it becomes debilitating anxiety or into a panic attack, then we need to do some mechanisms to try to control that.
Yeah.
But if you're feeling that sense of rush, that sense of adrenaline, your heart's beating a little bit, right? You're fucking engaged. You're feeling ready. You're feeling like a sense of zoning in. Like, that's where it's called challenge skills balance. Basically when like the challenge and your skills are at equal. So like you feel like you're stretching a little bit, but you don't feel like you're about to snap. Like that's where that's where the challenge skills ratio is. And that's where like your anxiety and your nervousness are at like a perfect level. And I feel like that's it for like, say when you were wrestling Adam Cole, right? The challenge is there, right? Because you're wrestling Adam Cole. Holy shit. but your skills are also there, but you have to yourself perceive your skills to be there. So everything lines up. Obviously you can wrestle with him. Obviously you can go toe to toe with him. But you have to believe that your skills match the level of challenge. And then that's where everything kind of coincides. And there's good anxiety. There's good nervousness that it's making you more focused for whatever you're about to, do.
Yeah, definitely.
If you
it's the tough balance to find though. Cause like
very hard.
You don't want to, but yeah, but it's a tough line to walk though, for sure.
Yeah. What'd you say? You caught out for a little bit.
Oh no, I was saying it's just like, it's a very tough line to walk, but that's what you have to find. You have to find that balance of challenging yourself, but also knowing like, all right, mentally, where am I at? Physically, where am I at? Like you can't make the challenge too big or else you'll just get discouraged. That's it.
Exactly right. Right. And it really all boils down to your confidence, and your confidence really boils down to, if you're interested in how you build confidence, I'll give you like a little nugget of people listening, but most people think that confidence comes from like your past successes. Like, so all my confidence comes from my past successes. That's like not necessarily true. It's really, your confidence really comes from your self-talk. But the thing that people miss about their self-talk when it comes to their confidence is that it has to be credible self-talk. So like if I'm feeling shaky in my confidence a little bit, and I tell myself I'm the best performer that's ever lived, well, that's not true, right? And so your brain doesn't believe that. So that's not credible confidence. So you're not enhancing your confidence. So you base it on your past successes. Your past successes lead you to have credibility, and then your credibility leads you to have the correct self-talk. So that's really where confidence comes from, and that's relation into the challenge skills balance, about stretching yourself but not snapping yourself, and then how you keep elevating your performance is by keep elevating your challenges, but at the same time elevating your skill set, and then allowing the credible self-talk and the credible self-confidence to raise all of that together. Is basically what I teach athletes, and what you could teach yourself.
It looks like you've researched this a little bit, bud.
Yeah, just a little bit. I take it, just a little bit. I've gone on like a super deep dive over the past 3 years about all of this stuff. First it was just in relation to mental health, and I've got a lot deeper into that, and then it became mental health in terms of athletes. And then it became like human development, a little bit of neuroscience, some physiology, and now it's like a mixture of in between. And it's just, it gets me really fired up. I don't know if you can tell, but it gets me always excited to talk about this stuff. But I got to be careful because I don't want to like push it onto people. So I just want to make sure that, people, but it is my podcast, so I guess I can talk about whatever I want. But
I mean, they tuned in for a reason. But like, that's like, to me, you are the epitome of like it's the process. Like, you have so much fun and so much joy in these things that you do now, which are not things that you probably ever thought you were going to do, but you learned, like, your journey took you one way, and then you integrated it with your passions that you already had. And like, you wound up finding something that you really love and enjoy to do. And like, seeing you be very fulfilled as someone who is your friend and loves you, like, it's great for me to see. Like, I don't know, it's the happiest I've seen you. So that's always something that's in the back of my head of like, when I think about the journey and the process, is you, because like, you're the most into the process and happy about it of any human being I know. So you're an inspiration, Mr. Stone.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I try to be. I don't think that was ever like a goal to be inspiring.
No, of course.
But now it feels, what's the word?
Natural.
Like, it's like just something that happens. Like, I feel inspired to help people also feel inspired. So I think that's cool. And yeah, I was talking to Jordan Oliver the other day at the GCW show, like I told you that I went to, and GCW is like doing some like charity work when they go to like town to town.
Oh, nice.
And Jordan was talking about how he really likes doing some of this charity work. Jordan, we both know Jordan. He's always been like a really optimistic guy, has a positive outlook, absolutely fucking loves professional wrestling. And he was talking about charity work, and he was like, but I feel selfish for doing charity work because it makes me feel good. And I was like, well, every decision we make is inherently selfish because we do it out of some selfish reason. But we hope in hopes that some of these decisions we make that are inherently selfish, that they also help other people at the same time. And that shouldn't make you feel bad or guilty because your intentions are pure, your intentions are real, you're set out to help people, to give back, but you knowing in that process that it's also making you feel good. And so it's a win-win relationship for really everyone. And so we had that conversation, which I thought applied here.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of times people get in their own way with stuff. Like you're doing something good, but then you overthink it. Like, am I doing it for the right reasons? It's like, like you said, like I'm sure if Jordan really broke it down, the reason that it makes him feel good is because he's helping other people, which is a good thing. So it's not like, it doesn't make you selfish, you know, but I understand like everything is inherently a little selfish because that's how, you know, you should put yourself first. But yeah, that's definitely one I think a lot of people think about. Like, that specific one is charity, like being like, oh, is this just because it makes me feel better about myself? But yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way to put it. It's like inherently it's good, so just keep doing the good thing.
Exactly, right. Your intentions are pure, your intentions are real, you're setting out to help people. It's fucking awesome that it also makes you feel good because you're going to do it then more often. So now you're helping yourself, but you're also helping more people more often. And it's like
symbiotic relationship.
It is. It's, you know, I tell people like one of the key things when you're struggling like with your mental health is there's a few things that go into it, but one of the most important things you can do for yourself is to help other people because it gets you out of your own head. It gets you to stand back and kind of look at yourself a little more introspectively and be like, okay, you know, I'm not maybe who I think I was. I'm not this burden. I'm not this awful person. I can help other people. I can do things. People care about me, right? So you want to take this like step back from yourself. That's just one of the tools to kind of help you if maybe you're in a rut with your mental health, right? Is to just go out and, you know, do something. And or else like you're around other people, there's community, you're being of service. And then so you find a little bit more fulfillment in that. And that itself is inherently selfish because you're going out there to help someone because your mental health is in jeopardy. But then throughout the day, throughout the cycle of that, you're like seeing other people be happy and fulfilled and grateful. And it's like this whole chain of events, like, right, you said, it's a symbiotic relationship because we're all connected, you know, no matter how much we don't want to admit that, we're all connected in every single way possible. So, yeah.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. I don't know what to add.
You know, that's it, man. It's magical. It's a magical life we live. You know, it's a magical life we live. I'm super proud of both of us for being in the positions that we're in, doing the things that we're doing. And the next time you see Daniel Garcia, tell him that I want him to have him on my podcast because I think he's also an incredibly special human being.
I will.
And
he'll do it too.
He's an incredible guy. I had Lee on my podcast a while ago, but now he's like also doing incredible shit, just like wrestled CM Punk.
CM Punk
like a week ago or something, and like absolutely crushing it. So like those things are just so I'm really proud of you. I'm proud of myself. I will bring you back on this pod,
you too, buddy.
But I'll be seeing you in February. I'll be seeing you in February because I have a mental health conference in Washington D.C.
Hell yeah!
Anything else you'd like to add? Any comments, questions, concerns, funny stories, anecdotes?
No, man, I'm just like you said, looking at our journey, you know, since we first met, since I saw the for sale sign in front of where you were living because our friend asked me to pick you up.
Yeah.
And here we are. And drive, by the way, like 10 minutes away from where I live now.
Oh, really?
Is where Nova Pro was. Yeah, I'm like right by it. I passed the building a lot.
You're by the JCC? Is that where we were?
Yeah, there was a JCC and then there was the fire department. That shows the JCC though, and that's the one I pass all the time. But yeah,
good old JCC. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, man, life turns out just just really beautifully.
Absolutely.
More people follow you now than they follow me, but for those that don't follow you, where can they find you?
At Wheeler Yuta on everything. If you work for one of those verification people, help me out.
Yes.
Yeah, get me verified. But yeah, that's about it. At Wheeler Yuta on pretty much everything.
And buy a sweet best friends tee on
yes.
shop.aew.com. Is that what it is?
You added an extra dot. Shopaew.com.
Okay, I was pretty close. I was pretty close.
Yeah, you almost nailed it. Pro Wrestling Tees works too.
Yeah.
We still get it. They make all the Shop AEW stuff anyways.
That's mad cool.
Either way works.
Beautiful. Yep. Okay. Well, thanks for coming on, Big Utes. Happy to talk to you. Happy for your success. And let's see where this journey takes us both, eh?
Hey, let's do it.
And go Bryce Harper. Go Phillies.
Go Bryce Harper. All right, love you, buddy.
Love you too, dude. Later. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching. Cheers.